Hi, I'm Dr. Veronique Desaulniers, founder of BreastCancerConqueror.com and the 7 Essential System. And welcome to Wellness Warriors. I'm so excited to get started with this podcast. And my first guest is Debra Atkinson. Welcome, Debra.
Thanks so much. I'm so thrilled and honored. What a seat to sit in.
Yeah,
So I better raise the bar.
Okay, that's right. That's right. So Debra is flipping 50 and changing the way thousands of women think about their second half of their life. And I just love this because I certainly went through that little postmenopausal change, right? So I love the work that you're doing. You're a master personal trainer, you're a strength and wellness coach, and you've been at it for 30 years. So you've got lots of experience. You've written some amazing articles and books. I love the last one that you wrote, hotnotbothered.com. You've written for Huffington Post and other great blog posts as well. You're a frequent speaker at international women's speaking events. And if you haven't been to her website yet, I love the website. It's called flipping50.com. And it's just beautiful because it really gives you that feeling like you see in the poster behind her. You still got it, girl. It's about teaching women about health and wellness and radiating joy, even if you're, 50 and above. So I love what you're doing, Debra. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. It is, you know what? There's never been a better time to be over 50. It's so empowering at this point, and we have this opportunity to raise the glass ceiling for so many people that are going to come behind us.
That's right. That's right. So tell me a little bit about your story and how you ended up getting to be so passionate about what you're doing.
Okay, the dirt, right? We're going to dig right in. Okay.
That's right. That is the truth and the whole truth.
There's, as you know very well, there's always a personal story.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe the passion goes deeper when there is a personal story.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably a better way to put it. So, yes, loved fitness and working in it for 30 years, teaching, sitting on all sides of the desk, really. So a unique perspective in that I've taught students at a university level. So I know what they thought they needed to know. And I've worked as hiring, training, and unfortunately firing, personal trainers, and then worked for the owners of those facilities. So I know how important the bottom line is, but quality is as well to the ones that successfully stay in business. So that unique perspective, but then I really gained another one when I became a midlife woman, and I went through the cliched midlife crisis. So I made a lot of changes when I was 49. Not that I would recommend it, but now that I'm on the other side, I'm so glad I went through them. I rattled things up and shook me up and my life a little bit. But while I was doing that, really drilled home all of the research that I'd been doing, and that was coming out about, with the way we'd been exercising really doesn't put our hormones in balance. Textbook exercise doesn't fit a woman who's in midlife. But I'll tell you a little secret that very recently I've uncovered only 39% of all sports medicine and exercise research features women, period.
Really?
Let alone, let's look at how much of that do you suppose is midlife and older?
Right.
A much smaller amount. So even those of us who've been exercising regularly, we may have been shooting for the wrong target, slightly off. So now it's getting exciting because at least we know that. And that's what I think of myself as, taking all of it in and filtering it out so that I'm delivering. Okay, don't forget to ask, was that done on women in midlife going through hormone change and stress and the way that they're so very different? So that's the exciting piece, that I'm fitting a niche that I realized so many people kept saying to me in the unique place I was, being able to hear from trainers and from their clients, hundreds and thousands of them, that they feel underserved, that nobody's hearing what they're complaining about. And even their doctor will say, well, you're 50,
Right.
Or well, you're
getting older.
Yes. And so, I want people to fight back and realize that it doesn't have to be that way. We don't have to settle. And there's just so much more that they can do. And it's empowering.
Good. Yeah, that's wonderful. And I know personally, I used to be a long distance runner and I used to,
Yeah.
run 6 to 10 miles and, do half marathons. And as my body aged, I realized that it just didn't feel good to do those things anymore. So I had to really adjust and adapt my, my training and my physical exercise. So, I mean, you look awesome. You're beautiful.
Oh,
You're a
thanks.
testament to the work that you do. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. And the interesting thing is, this last half of 2017, I threw myself under the bus. So after researching for 3.5 years, focusing on really coming into sometimes 20 minutes a day,
Hmm.
of interval training or walking, but nothing too long and in depth, lots of hiking as I live in Boulder, Colorado, but
Right.
changing the way I'd exercised for years. I was experiencing great hormone challenge, but internally I was having a little conflict because I really enjoy long distance endurance exercise. And it's a little bit of a stress reliever for me, place where I write, a place where I have conversations that I should never have in public, right? And then I can be done with that. But so I signed up for an Ironman and
Oh,
said,
wow.
I'm testing my hormones pre and post, and I'm going to try to write a different kind of a program and do far less volume, but satisfy my need and desire to see what happens when there is that desire to do it, when you really like something. How much does that come into play? Because I think there is a little thing happening if we hold women back from doing something they really love and say, well, science says this, but
Hmm.
their heart and gut are telling them something else. I think we need to listen to that. So the interesting thing is, the blog is out. My hormones improved dramatically from start to end. Improved.
Really?
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 Yes. So I'm going to dive into, the why of that, in
Okay.
future blogs. And as we go, not everybody should do, I'm not suggesting a long distance event or an Ironman, but I do think it comes back to, it's all about, what do you love?
Right.
What do you love? Let's take the science, let's take what you love, and then let's test it and be sure we're adjusting our GPS, to listen to the feedback that you're getting. Don't push through it and ride through it if it's not working.
Right.
But, that's the important part, continuing to adjust the sails.
And I like that because it's about testing and monitoring. And that's one thing I'm very strong about in our program is
Yeah.
to make sure that you test, and monitor to make sure you're getting the
Yes.
right results. Now, I was really surprised to read the statistics that as much information as we have about coaching and exercise and all those things, only 30% of us are actually exercising enough to really change and affect their health. So, why aren't
Mhm.
people moving their bodies more?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of reasons. I think we as health coaches, fitness experts, I think we've done a really poor job of tapping into the 6 inches that matter most. It's these, right here, and it's
Hmm.
the behavior change. We've come so far in 30 years. I was just, in fact, I put my significant other on a plane this morning, and we've worked together actually in fitness businesses. And, we've talked about how it's not hard anymore. People know they need it, but it's
Hmm.
very hard for them to stick with it.
Hmm.
And, so there needs to be some accountability for a while, for much longer perhaps than we ever used to think that there did. We've always tried to willpower our
Right.
way through things and, turn on the diet on January 2nd, and we're going to do it in a pristine way. And then we feel we've lied to ourselves when we don't uphold what we said we were going to do. And, it gets really depressing, when we don't do that. And, there's nobody worse to lie to yourself than you, right? So there's that piece, and there's, where is your motivation? So the why of, why I'm in business or why anyone would do an exercise program when that's a real life change for them is important. But I call it the cry why. When you really get emotional about it,
Hmm.
that's the one. I mean, there can't be just I want to look good for my class reunion this summer. but there needs to be more of a, what is it that you're afraid of happening if you don't change now? Or what would make you cry to, have done and to be able to say, I can do this? And it's not on the scale. I think a lot of people look for maybe in the bathroom scale as a result. And it's probably outside of the gym. It's outside of the scale. It's much more about, what do you want to be able to do? Who do you want to be? How do you want to live? If you can tap into that, that's really the secret. But get support. We all need help, right?
Yeah. I love that. I love that. It's the mindset, and it's
Yes.
getting the support. And I know in my 7 essential system, essential number 3 is to balance your energy, and exercise and physical movement is an important part of that. And even, the American Cancer Society says that if women just move their bodies 30 minutes a day, it decreases their chances of mortality by like 70%. I mean, just moving their body 30 minutes a day. So I'm so with you on, really getting clear about your why, and really, focusing on what makes your heart sing when it comes to your body. Now, one thing that we always hear from everybody is the time factor. I don't have enough time because I'm so busy. I've got the kids, I've got work, I've got to clean the house, or, whatever our schedules are. So how do you address that?
With a question. How long do you think it takes? How long do you think it takes? And really, that can stop people in their tracks because they haven't really thought of it. But the whole idea sounds overwhelming. It's like a lot of projects that any of us have. Cleaning the house to me sounds overwhelming. That's my thing. Right? So you're so glad you're not over here right now. But I think it's a matter of, okay, let's nail that down. What do you think it takes? So the place to start, the place always I start is, what's realistic? What could you do? And if that's 10 minutes a day, that's where we start. And, for strength training, that can be enough 2 or 3 times. And it really twice of stimulating major muscle groups for 10 minutes. We just recently, I answered this question on a live Facebook at Flipping 50 TV, about how long should you work out? And I said, that's not the question really that you want to ask. I'm going to answer with a statement that doesn't quite hit it, but it's really about intensity. So if you reach fatigue, so don't let that scare you. If you're worried about, she's a drill sergeant, not so much. But you do want to reach fatigue. You want to pick up weights heavy enough to reach fatigue by the time you're done. Or you want to be breathless when you're doing your intervals and recover between. So it's not about pain and intensity. Don't associate those two. But it is about knowing, yes, I exercise a little bit. But if we say to you, can you do that for 30 seconds? My bet is everybody listening can say, yeah, I could get breathless. That's all, right? So it's, doing quality, not quantity. 10 minutes twice a week of strength training. You could make 20 minutes twice a week of interval training work. Wow. And then the idea is really moving more. Moving, it all counts. And we sometimes negate the fact that just the up and down in your stairs, the walking to and from, we don't want to discount it, because the more positively we think about the way we move through our day, the more help it is.
Yes.
Your cells are listening, right, to what you're thinking.
That's right. That's right. Movement. So what's an ideal exercise program for women that are 50 and over? We talked a little bit about that as far as time and strength, energy.
Right.
But if somebody were to ask, okay, so I'm postmenopausal, I'm 55, my joints hurt, where do I start?
Great question. So I'm going to always say to a postmenopausal woman, or any woman any age, honestly, because you're heading there, right? I mean, that's where the bus is going. So
right.
strength training is your best friend.
Okay.
So keeping that in mind, if you are somebody who said what you just tagged on the end of that is, my joints already hurt, we want to start with lighter weights. So when I mentioned earlier, reach fatigue, the weights you would choose to reach fatigue using would be lighter. And so you might be doing 25 repetitions. So it's going to be significantly lighter, which is easier on your joints.
Okay.
And yet we're going to have you do them slowly controlled so that we're strengthening the muscles around the joint, which ultimately will take the pressure off the joint. Ideally, you're going to then say to me, well, I'm actually feeling so much better, right? Or the stairs are easier. I'm not feeling my knees. And that's when we might go a little bit heavier. But we, like you said, we apply something based on the smartest science we have about you and your body, and then we try it and we get the feedback, and then we adjust to take the next step forward or back. So strength training first, and definitely some cardiovascular exercise. But the older we get, the less that actually is a factor. We want to move. So walking is wonderful, easy for most people. If not walking, a bicycle or an elliptical trainer, getting in the water to take some pressure off joints may be a better option if your joints are already sore. And we're all a little bit different. So one person who might say, my knees bother me, could exercise on an elliptical and be fine. The next person with sore knees may not be able to. So our knee joints put together slightly differently depending, and you might have to do a little trial and error of what feels best for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then find that thing and continue to do it.
Continue to do that. So it's kind of a trial and error. But what would be the
It is.
biggest mistake that people do when they first say, okay, I'm going to do this? What's the biggest problem?
Choosing something because it is the biggest calorie burner or the biggest fat burner.
Okay.
Coming back to talking about me doing my long endurance exercise, what a lot of science and gurus are saying, okay, that's not best for hormone balancing. I think we've got to take into account, what do you love? So let's start with something you love. Maybe is there something you used to do or you think would be so much fun? So often women will say, I'd love to dance. And then if you say, when was the last time you danced? Like, I don't remember, right? So, it might be as simple as music in the living room and starting to move around and dance, for 10 minutes a day. Or, finding a class that you can dance, or taking ballroom with a partner.
Yeah.
So those types of things, something though that makes you smile spontaneously.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about calories. It's not as much about calories in and out as you eat and exercise as it is about hormone balancing. And the same is true for when you're choosing your exercise. Don't go for the one that burns the most calories. Yoga actually might help you release weight, for instance, if that's what you're interested in doing, if it helps you decrease your cortisol.
Excellent. Excellent. So if somebody's trying an exercise program and they're not seeing the results, what kind of questions should they be asking themselves or their trainer, their physical trainer?
Mm-hmm. I would dive into what are we eating? If the exercise schedule and the routine is there and we're looking at frequency and that's appropriate, I would look at, how is the eating? The exercise nutrition is as important as the exercise itself. As
Mm-hmm.
count the number of times you eat during the day versus the times you're going to exercise during the day. It's kind of a landslide that you better get that nutrition dialed in, right?
Right.
So taking a look at that for support, but also the other habits that are there. And, taking into account how's your sleep and how's your stress level. So, exercising and getting that right, if we're not sleeping, we don't have the right hormones in place to make that great exercise and great nutrition kind of stick. So
Right.
we need great sleep for several hormones to put cortisol in its place, have it be high when it should be high, low when it should be low,
Mm-hmm.
and then boost growth hormone and testosterone, which both help with holding on to that lean muscle tissue. And they're both optimized with good sleep.
Good. Now, do you actually do personal coaching with people one-on-one, or do you just do group teaching?
I do still do a little one-on-one. I'm a big believer that actually a lot of my group programs tend to grow out of the patterns I see with my private clients so that I can reach more people. But I love that. I mean, there's nothing more rewarding than this, right? Talking back and forth. And so programs are wonderful, and there's the community and camaraderie that happens there. But I do consider, private coaching allows me to put the puzzle together completely for one individual.
That sounds like fun. Now, how do you measure hormones? You talk a lot about hormones. Do you use blood? Do you use saliva testing?
Yes, both.
Okay.
So blood testing, and to take a really in-depth look at cortisol, saliva testing, I like the 4 times, and looking at the wake, the dinner, or the breakfast, the dinner, and the going to bed cortisol levels, and look, how do we follow that? Where are you at?
Yeah.
Very informative. Yes. So we use them all.
Okay, great. Now, you have a free gift for our listeners that I'm really excited about. You want to tell us about that?
Yes, the 5-day flip. So if you're a woman, short on time, right? And you're not sure, what do I do for reaching my highest priorities? Where do I get the most benefit in that short time? I've got a little cheat sheet that tells you, here's the most important things to do and focus on. And then I invite you to do 5 days with me, the 5-day flip. So I send you 5 short videos. They're about 15 to 20 minutes long. And I've lined up your week. So you've got 2 cardio, 2 strength training, and I give you a recovery day in the middle.
Love it. And how can people find out about getting the 5-day flip?
That's at flipping50.com. And that's all words spelled out, no numbers, no spaces, /5 as in the number day flip.
Okay, we'll post that on the recording as well, so people will be able to have access to that. So Debra, this has been awesome. I love the work that you're doing. It falls right in alignment with the mission, the passion that I have in helping women who are on a preventative or healing journey when it comes to breast cancer. We know moving our bodies is so important. It makes us feel good physically, emotionally, and
yes.
You're definitely carrying the torch for all of us over 50. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, and thanks for the great, important work that you're doing.
Okay, well, thanks.